if you think I'm just some dog who's going to keep coming back, then you're wrong. But if you want true love, then this is it. This is real life. It's not perfect, but it's real. And if you can't see it, then you're blind. All right, I give up.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Film Bros Podcast. My name is Isaiah Lucas, and I am joined by my co-hosts,
Abraham
and Nick.
How y'all doing tonight?
I'm good, and yourselves?
I'm doing good.
Yeah, we're doing all right, man.
How's your guys' day?
Was very nice, honestly. It
was good.
I had some really good lunch. Work went swimmingly.
Swimming.
It was
That's a new word.
Just like last week, man. Like
Good.
I'm like
Glad
a
to hear
broken
that.
record. What about
Nice.
you? What about you?
It was good, man. I didn't have much going on. It was nice to be able to, sit at work and just do busy work, which is nice. I also got to listen to a ton of interviews and commentary and stuff about the movie that we're going to be talking about today.
Good.
Exciting.
But what about you?
I had a couple phone calls for work, and that lasted like 3 hours actually. So, just doing stuff like that, and then I played Minecraft and then watched the movie.
Nice. All right. Well, so yeah, the movie we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be rounding out the Before trilogy today, with the last movie in the trilogy being Before Midnight. This movie came out in 2013, and it was written and directed by Richard Linklater, and also written by Julie Delpy and Ethan Hawke. And like we said, this is the last movie in the trilogy, so we're kind of saying a little farewell to Jesse and Celine, as hard as that is.
For now.
For now, hopefully.
Headcanon alert, but
We have some conspiracy theories, or some theories.
Yeah. But, for now we're going to be saying goodbye to these characters that we've grown with and that we've loved. But, it's not always a bittersweet goodbye, right? And I'm excited to dive into this one. I guess we can give a little synopsis here real quick because it was my pick. So this movie follows Jesse and Celine another 9 years later. And it, picks up like in real time 9 years later. And we get to see, if they continue to, spend the rest of their time with one another, or if, somehow they magically reconnect again, or we don't necessarily know. I don't want to give away any spoilers this early in the episode. So if you haven't seen this movie, go check it out. We found out that it is streaming. This one only is streaming on Amazon Prime. So if you have Prime, go check that out if you haven't seen the third one.
Oh, man.
Which I don't know how you could. Like, as soon as I watched all the, the first two of these films, I was like, dude, I got to watch the third one now.
You got to finish it.
So go check it out. If you haven't seen this, or if you want to revisit it, it is streaming for free on Prime right now. But yeah, let's get into it. This is a little bit of your spoiler warning, so if you haven't seen this movie, go check it out. And we definitely do recommend this one. This whole trilogy has just been great to go through, and I really, appreciate. I guess I can say I appreciate the genre of romance when it's not done, super cheesy and corny. But this has really been, like, I could say, like, I guess some of my favorite romance movies.
All right.
So I'm excited to hear what you guys think about it. Before we start off with our first favorite scenes, what did you guys immediately think of the film?
This is a different film. It's not like the first or second one at all.
Yeah, I think that's what I like about the Before series. Like, each film feels different.
But it's the same but different. Like it was.
Yeah, it still has the same DNA though.
Yeah.
Like it's all, you can see what they tried to keep throughout the whole trilogy, but this one is definitely different. Like so the jump from sunrise to sunset, it wasn't too much difference in terms of like cinematography. But this one, dude, they have like a brand new camera.
Yeah.
The color grading is just incredible. Like it is such a noticeable increase in quality.
Yeah. I think that's one thing that, like, that also sets it apart, visually, but also, like, even a little bit in just, like, the tone of the overall movie. I think, like, it feels more relaxed and laid back at points, because it's this movie. We see sides of characters that we never thought we'd ever see.
Yeah.
So I think this is what sets it apart from the other two. which I really enjoy. I really enjoy that the director, Richard Linklater, decided to make a third movie that shows, okay, what happens after Happily Ever After. Like
Not so happy, I
yeah,
guess.
exactly. Like this is the reality of relationships. There are ups and downs.
Mm-hmm.
And I really do appreciate the reality that is brought to this film, which is something that I was seeing a lot of people weren't liking. I seen a lot of people write negative reviews about this because they said like it wasn't like the first two.
Did they think that they were just gonna like live happily together and just be a fine couple? Like,
I think so.
That's
and
not-
like people were saying that it was too real and that like the reality was like too much for
Isn't
them,
that
and they loved these characters and they wanted them to be happy and stuff. And it's like,
see, that sounds like me last episode. I was really sad that there's a third one, but getting the context of their relationship and seeing them, being together for 18 years, right? Well,
Yeah.
Not being together, but seeing each other, then reconnecting and having this relationship together for a long time.
mm,
It does feel real, and it does feel grounded in reality.
yeah,
So I don't know how much more you can ask for them to show you a real relationship. Like,
I think
Yeah.
I think it was worth it showing the real side of relationship because you don't see that in movies.
yeah,
I don't at all. I think I don't.
Yeah.
I can't think of another movie that is showing a real relationship like this.
yeah. We were talking to someone who didn't like this film very much, and even they were like,
Who?
the arguments felt very real.
yeah.
I
So
want to know who didn't like it.
It's my brother,
Which Ashton?
Caden.
no hate,
Yeah.
but
no, and that's his opinion.
Yeah.
yeah. But no, it's a very real movie, and I think that the way they took it in this direction was good.
Yeah, I think it was
enjoyed
a smart choice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It
And-
could have been the same, rehash of, oh, lovey-dovey, I love you so much, and like, it still has some of that in this. Like they still, talk about how much they love one another, but
Well,
they don't shy away from their issues and their problems and things that irritate each other.
Yeah.
That things about the other person that irritate each other now.
mhm.
So I really do appreciate that aspect of the film.
To me, for the conversation they had were more like they know each other so much more than from when they knew each other when they first met. Excuse me.
Mm.
That the conversation that they had were like so like anything they can talk crap to each other like it's so real.
Yeah.
So this movie to me I can't compare it to the first and second one because it's so different.
Mm.
Yeah, I think if anyone should compare the third to the first two, it would be a trap. Like they're not comparable.
Yeah.
No.
There's nothing. They're like I said, like they're all the same but different.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, there's quite a few differences.
This one's but this one's so different. Like I can compare you can compare the first and second one together, I think. No?
I don't think so.
I don't know. They all have their, like I was saying,
They all have
feel,
distinct qualities.
Yeah, they
They
feel
do,
like their
but-
own universes. So, I think they're plenty different from each other, but they share DNA, like I was saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
I
agree
get what
with
you're
you.
saying on that.
All right. Well, let's dive into our favorite scenes. This can be our first category. I believe my first favorite scene is the car ride, which I think, Nick, you said that yours was the intro.
Yeah,
It
I like
was.
the intro as well.
Let's dive into the intro first, and then we'll get into the car ride.
Okay, so the intro, and I like it because it's something that we're familiar with. We get to see Jesse with this kid. They call him, his name is Henry, but
But he also goes by Hank.
by Hank. Okay. So that I was a little bit like, Lisa and I were like, okay, wait, he's on the phone. Anyways, they're at the airport, and he's kind of walking through the airport, kind of making this small, kind of awkward talk because, we get the vibe that he is not a big part in this kid's life.
Yeah.
And, he had just spent the whole summer with this kid, and he's having to say goodbye, and you get all these, like, sad moments of him looking at him, and, like, he's like, oh, you're good at communicating, and, the kid is kind of giving him one-word answers.
Yeah.
So it was cool to see him, try to connect with his kid as much as possible, and he's like,
Yeah. It also feels, too, like I don't know. It feels like Jesse does care
mm-hmm.
about Hank. He does care about Henry, but it's done in a way where he's like, man, I love you, but I know like I haven't always been around, so I don't think you can understand like how much I do love you.
Yeah, that's one of the main issues he struggles with throughout this movie, and it was just really kind of difficult to see him having to say goodbye to his son.
Yeah.
And the part that kind of hurt the most is he was like, I'm gonna come. I'll come in October, and I'll see you. I'll watch you play. I'll watch you do your thing.
Yeah.
And the kid goes, Yeah, you probably shouldn't do that.
Yeah, that's
No,
like
that
that's
was
my
my
bro moment.
big.
for me.
That's my first bro moment because you can tell that Jesse loves him, obviously, like, and that's his kid.
Yeah.
And then hearing, he's like talking up, like, yeah, when they're buying stuff at that little store, he's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna come out. I'm gonna try my hardest to come out there. And the kid doesn't say anything. And right before they part ways,
It's like,
he goes, yeah, it's best if you don't come.
that's
Yeah.
savage.
And you come another weekend, and I was like, how are you gonna tell your dad that?
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense though, because he's like, my mom already doesn't like you, and it would just bring a lot of stress to the thing, and I'm already gonna be stressed out.
Yeah.
So it makes sense. But he kind of ends it with saying like, "Dad, I had the best summer of my whole entire life here." He goes, "You did?" He goes, "Yeah, I did." So it kind of felt, like there was still that connection there. That it's not completely dead relationship.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And-
There's something that is still there,
Yeah.
which is I got to be great for Jesse, but also got to be hard to hear.
Yeah.
Hearing your kid say like it's probably best if you don't,
Mhm.
because mom still hates you, and all this
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's when we get the much needed context of why is he not going back home, and then it gets to the end of that scene where he walks out, and immediately you see Celine by the car,
yep.
and I'm like, okay, this is why he's been in the Paris with Celine. Like he chose Celine, he's there. That's what the end of the second movie represents, right?
Yep.
So I think that leads into your favorite scene where they get into the car.
Yes. Well, it even bleeds into another bro moment when the camera pans and we see the two twins.
Yeah,
They have
crazy.
they have twins. They have two
Mhm.
kids, which is even it's a callback to the second movie where Celine kind of plays a little joke and says like when at that time whenever they're about to get on the boat, I think they're walking, and she says like, "Oh, my kids! I left my two kids in the car and all this stuff." And he's like, "Oh, you got kids?" And she's all, "No." But they do have two kids.
Yeah.
Which is a nice little callback to the second movie, and two twin girls named Nina and Ella.
Yeah.
Who I found out Nina is named after Nina Simone, the lady
Bro.
that she was impersonating at the end of the movie, end of the second movie.
Oh
Wow,
shoot.
that's incredible.
Yeah,
What about Ella?
I assume like Ella Fitzgerald, a jazz singer,
Yeah.
I think
the queen of scatting.
I think
Dude.
that was-
She's all boom da da doo da doo da doo. She has
I
that
would-
song Blue Skies where she like scats like crazy. It's good.
I'll have to check it out.
But yeah, so this leads into my first favorite scene with the car ride. And first off, I have to say this entire scene is like 15 minutes long, and there's only one cut.
Yeah.
Like there's only one cut, and it's to look away at some scenery.
Some ruins, right?
And, and then it's back right to the car scene,
Yeah.
and it's another 9-8 minutes of just dialogue, no cuts.
so good.
Yeah, I really do love the long takes that all these movies
I love it.
have had. I was even watching a commentary, and it was a filmmaker who was reacting to the movie. His channel name, I believe, is James versus Cinema. He's a filmmaker. Shout out to James versus Cinema. He was watching, he watched all three movies and reacts to them and stuff. And the third one, he had brought up this great point of how, whenever Jesse and Celine are not together, they're these short cuts. They're not as super long, and they feel like, very movie-esque, like everyone's like has their own shot, But when the two are together, but when the two are together, there's hardly any cuts. They're long. They're both always in the scene together.
Mm-hmm.
And like it feels like, we are there with them because of these long takes and because of the relationship that we've grown with these characters. I just have to say that entire car ride scene is insane acting.
Mhm.
Like to be driving and just memorizing all of your dialogue and riffing off one another and stuff. Like it's a great showmanship of your acting chops.
Oh, for sure. And we get to see kind of the family dynamic where she calls him out for being Mr. Clean up, and he's like, "Oh, I cleaned up," and she's like, "No, you've always been gone. Where have you been the past couple of years?"
Yeah.
And we get the cute little jabs like you were talking about, the little they can kind of drill into each other when he steals the apple, and she's like, "You're gonna steal the
from
apple
your daughter?"
from your daughter," and she pulls out her phone. She's like, "Ella, this is proof that your daughter is stealing your food, and if you're
If you ever
bulimic,
go and anorexic, it wasn't me. It was your dad's
it
fault.
was so it was just funny to see that, and just to start us laughing, start us feeling like their relationship has been solid. They have a strong family, and they're in Greece.
Yeah,
On vacation.
I also really enjoy the writing in this scene because it immediately continues the character building that started in the second one.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I love the scene. It's a small part, but I love whenever Jesse's, they're talking about how, Henry said that he had the best summer of his life, and that, he even found a little girl there, and they kissed and all this stuff. And, Celine was giving him tips on kissing and stuff. And he, Jesse's kind of like, whoa, like I didn't even know that. And he, the romantic side of him is like, what if they ended up spending their whole life together?
Mm-hmm.
And, of course,
Celine.
Celine being the cynic that she is now is like, oh, don't be so corny. Come on, like that would never happen.
It
and all
does
this
look
stuff.
at you guys.
Yeah, and then their story, is
Yeah.
hilarious. But, obviously Jesse, we still get that character building of Jesse being this full-blown romantic now and having this, huge switch.
Mm-hmm.
And then Celine also doing the same. And I appreciate that they continue that character building because it would have been really weird had they done that in the second movie and then gone back.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really appreciated that. I also really love seeing this couple we know and love in discourse and arguing with one another.
Yeah.
I love it, but I also hate it because it's one of those things where it's like, oh, I don't like to watch daddy and mommy fight. like I don't like it. Like it hurts me to watch them like get in arguments, but I also am like, well, that's very real though.
Yeah.
And it feels that way. Like that entire sequence whenever, Jesse just wants to talk about, the possibility of being in Henry's life more, and doing that, he would have, they would have to move to Chicago, and they get in a very real and heated argument about, I'm not moving to Chicago and I'm not going to uproot my life. I have, this job opportunity. I don't want to do any of that. And he's like, well, I didn't even say that was an idea. I just want to talk about the situation, about possibly being in his life more. And, it's also interesting whenever we see the characters arguing. I don't know about you guys, but you can understand where both characters are coming from.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
100%.
And you can understand their reasoning, which is very frustrating as well because the other can't understand the other, but we can. And so it's like, dude, you guys just come to a compromise or like understanding with one another.
It's almost an impossible situation though.
Yeah.
Like it's on either extreme, no matter what they choose, one's going to be out of luck.
Yeah.
So, and I'm glad you brought it up because this is the scene where, the initial problems are kind of rearing their heads where, she's getting a job offer that she's super excited for, and she's questioning if she should take it, if she shouldn't, and he's kind of saying like, oh, that guy's a dirtbag, you hate him, I know you do, and she's like, yeah, I do, but it's good money, it's something that I've been wanting to do, it's like my dream job. And he goes, fine, you know what, take it, whatever, take it. And then that's when he starts talking about like, I hate saying goodbye to him. Like, this kills me every time I have to do it. Mm-hmm. And then that's it. It's funny too because, he brings up his book idea and he talks about characters. I think we'll get into it a little bit later. But there's a character that always goes to the extremes. And it reminds me a lot of Celine in this moment because she goes, like, at the first sight of him saying like, oh, I want to just be more in his life. She goes, this is the time bomb right here. Yeah. This is the thing that's going to destroy our relationship right here.
Yeah.
And I immediately
he's like, you just jumped off a cliff.
Yeah. I was like, holy crap. She's, but it's kind of true. Yeah. This problem is something that like deeply affects her. And she's really, I think, scared and insecure about what's going to happen. And that's why, it might seem so small initially, but when we get to that crazy argument scene, it's more like, oh, you know what? I kind of can understand a little bit more. But I almost want to think that the arguments are designed to like because they always do that whole thing where they try to define the men and the women's role, and I feel like they design these arguments to be like, okay, the men will side with this and the women will side with this, and it's kind of like trying to get the audience to be like, who's right here? You know what I mean? So I feel like I can be
Whose side would you be on?
That's what I'm saying. I can't be unbiased in this.
Yeah, it's hard, especially as an audience member to
because that was the question I was going to bring up because I want to know what you guys think about the whole situation.
I don't know. It's hard to say because I understand where both characters are coming from.
Oh, I do
obviously,
too.
and it's hard. Like, but I also, I don't know. I understand. Celine's want and almost need to have other meaning in her life other than just being a mother.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Obviously,
Yeah,
like
100%.
everyone, not everyone should be, reduced to just motherhood unless that is, what a woman feels that she is called to
Yeah.
be a mother. But with Celine, she obviously feels like she is more, going for her. Like she, has a whole career that she wants to do. She doesn't want to just be stuck with these kids and all this stuff, which, I understand. It's a very, noble thing to want to do something other than, just be a mother.
Mhm.
Right. And then I also understand Jesse. I understand Jesse in that, he understands that he has never been the father that Henry deserved.
Yeah.
And he's understanding that now and realizes that if he doesn't do something now, those years that he missed are, going to pass by.
Mm-hmm.
And, he's really at a time in Henry's life where he can, be there and hopefully even make an impact or make a change in him and be there for him. So it's really hard. The film puts you in between a rock and a hard place.
Yeah.
And, I don't think it necessarily makes you choose between the two.
No.
But they do present both of their arguments very well.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate that they do so.
Mm-hmm.
I was listening to Richard Linklater talk about, most rom-coms or most romance movies, usually side with one character.
Mm-hmm.
But Richard Linklater really wanted to make both of the characters feel equal in that regard, that, the audience member wouldn't side with one or the other.
Mm.
And I really appreciate that in that aspect because it doesn't make us root for just one character.
Yeah.
But
I will say one issue that comes with trying to side with one or the other is that we don't really have the full context of the relationship.
Yeah, we only get these little glimpses of every 9 years.
So we kind of have to take what each character says, like, that it's the fact. Because we have nothing to show otherwise, right? So when she says, you've been gone, I've been doing this my whole life, and I've been, like scared out of my life because of it. And, when he says, well, I'm doing this, like, this is work, I have to do this. You get these, and it balances them out to where it's like, okay, I see both sides.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really hard to be like, okay, he's right or she's right without seeing the entire, however many years of their relationship, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
So I'm glad that they did it like that.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah.
I feel like you side with one person.
You're quiet over there.
No, I don't know who to side with
Okay.
because, like you guys both said, they both give both sides very well.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's so hard to choose because they're both very real and they're both very how do I say it?
Like,
big. They're big things. Like to uproot her life to move to Chicago is big.
Mm-hmm.
To miss your son's life is big.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's no in between. There's no way to choose. And then with their 2 kids, that'd be so hard.
That's,
Yeah.
he
So
even
it's-
says, like, there's no way.
And her mom is there. His mom is over there.
Mm-hmm.
So it's so hard to choose. I get both sides, but part of me wishes they went to Chicago.
Mm.
Okay.
But I'm not siding with him. But because I don't know. He does say some things that I'm like, well, it's true. Like maybe you find a better job over there.
Mm.
Maybe you find another opportunity. I don't know. I wanted to know what you guys thought.
Yeah. Like we said, it's a hard
It's
situation to put yourself in.
yeah.
To side
I'm
with
glad
one
I
another.
don't have to deal with all
I don't
that.
have to pick. I don't have to be
Yeah.
the one to make that decision.
I'm just
so.
the audience member, dude. That's it.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, that about concludes my first favorite scene. I know you
Car.
guys have got some others.
Yeah. My next favorite scene is actually when they get to, I want to see this castle or like what?
A little like villa.
Yeah, like a
almost.
villa. Jesse's with these other people in that villa talking about this book that he wants to write.
Mm.
This is what I was talking about earlier.
And I just like to see him, because you don't really see him talk about his books that he's written previously.
Mm-hmm.
So finally seeing him in his writer's like universe, where I don't know that's what I'm gonna call it, imagination. Talking about his next plan for the book actually makes me so happy, because he's like, I think it's cool, and there's this guy like doubting him and like, oh, it's not. What about this? What about that?
He's all, what about your last book? I thought that was too long. Yeah. And he was all, what was the title? And he's all,
It says like
something about a little known production about a play called Fleeting. Yeah. He's all, exactly my point.
Yeah, but it's just I really like the scene just because you actually get to see Jesse in his like mindset of, I'm about to write a book. This is where I want it to be, and I really liked it because you don't see that in the 2 past movies. And just the things that he was saying, like of this lady who always thinks she has this intimate connection with everybody she sees, and I kind of would love to read a book like that.
I would. This book seems so.
It seems very like intricate and also very like, what's the word? Ambitious.
Oh yeah.
Like the other author says. Yeah. Like, it's very ambitious, and I would love to see how an idea like that would play out, especially in the the medium of a novel.
Yeah,
I think that's where it fits it best.
Yeah,
but yeah, and I agree with you. Well, I actually don't agree with you because I feel like
wait, what?
I agree with you. No, I don't agree.
No, I agree with you because it's one of my favorite scenes, and I love being in to see him in that headspace. But I think part of the DNA of these films is seeing him being creative, and I think they show that not only in this one but in second one, where in the first one he talks about that 24-hour thing or that 24-hour show or whatever, and you get to see these like really interesting ideas that he has, and the fact that he can build his life around those. And I even like too where he explains it he really doesn't talk about his books that often.
No.
Right? And they romanticize a little bit in the second one. He's like, I made this to reconnect with you, and this one is more of like, he even equates it to, I wrote the first one to find her and the second one to pay our mortgage or something like that. And he's they're reducing it down, trying to break down that romantic narrative that they always try to do. But yeah, to see him kind of still be in that creative mindset to hold on to that throughout his entire life, I think is really cool. And it's ideas that I'd love to freaking read.
That's what I'm saying.
I would love to read that.
Yeah.
And I think it parallels a little bit to some of the characters in this film. And he goes and talks about love being different perspectives, or he goes
it's
into
not necessarily time, it's all perception.
Yeah, perception. And each character, I feel like I couldn't pinpoint each one of them, but for sure I think that one of them was focused on Celine, and kind of like there's this guy where he says like he reads a book and
thinks like, who's the last person that was ever going to read this?
Yeah, and it's like he's very future forward, like too much to where it's like impacting his life. And it's not necessarily about death, it's about like change and all that stuff. And I feel like at least a little bit of that came from Celine's
or his
responses or what I mean,
or is geared to her.
Yeah. So I thought it was an interesting take on
which
just to pick his brain a little bit.
Which is also interesting because in the second movie we get that as well, with him talking about his books. Like the second one, he literally talks about a book that he thought about writing in the space of a pop song.
Yeah.
And it's literally detailing his current life situation, how he's not currently happy with his marriage, and that he thought he would be doing all this stuff. But he does it under the guise of like, oh yeah, this guy doesn't really do all this stuff. He has everything he needs, but he doesn't really want it.
Yeah.
It's kind of the same thing.
Yeah. So it's cool to see them kind of take that and use it in all 3 movies.
Yeah. Yeah. You guys got any more favorite scenes?
Well, that kind of leads into the dinner scene, right?
Yeah, I would say that leads into the dinner scene.
Yeah. I have the dinner scene as well, but only when Natalia talks.
Natalia. And it's funny because there's a few parts of the dinner scene that I like. Yeah. The only time I kind of start to tune it out is when he talks about, computers are taking over. But I thought that was a little too like, all right, like this is a little straying too far from what I want to listen to right now. But yeah, I enjoyed the talk with, I don't remember their names, but it's that kid and that woman.
And I know who you're talking about. Let me see if I can find their names real quick.
Excuse me. Mina? Achilles and I have no idea. They aren't big characters at all, but
Aridani? It's Ariadni.
Ariadnes or something like that, right?
It's right here.
I butchered that. I know
It's
for
European.
Achilles.
That's what we know.
It's Achilles, like you say, and then I don't know how to say her name.
sure. Yeah, Ariadne. Yeah.
Ariadne.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I appreciated this scene only because, the way they talk about each other. And I was talking to Alexa about it, and she brought up the thing where, she's romantic in the first one. He's romantic in the second one. And in the third one, it's like, no, they both aren't really.
Yeah.
So you're kind of missing that in their relationship, and to get to see that through other
Through
eyes,
another relationship.
I appreciated
that
it.
relationship was kind of just. I was like, bruh, like some of the stuff that they were saying, because eventually
They ran a play. It's bringing back that
yeah, but
romanticism.
That first meeting.
Yeah.
But some of the stuff that they said straight up were like, oh yeah, we know we're not gonna be together forever.
Well, and I think that they're equating that to like death, right? And I actually
No, I don't think so, because they bring up her parents and they're like, oh, are your parents still together? And she's like, no.
Oh, but then he says yes, but they are together, but not for the good reasons. But
That's what I'm saying. They said some bad stuff about their relationship. Like, how are you not gonna be optimistic about your relationship?
well, because you're not going to be. I mean, what you're disconnected in death, and I think that's why they go into talking about the guy saying,
Yeah, and
one of the good things about my wife is, she's not here right now. We were two people, and we liked it that way.
yeah, we weren't one.
Well, yeah, but still, I
Like
don't
she
know.
took care of herself, and she asked the same for me. And
That's when we get into my favorite part of the scene.
Yeah.
Whenever Natalia starts to talk about the death of her husband.
and this is the part I love.
Yeah, this cuts deep.
Yeah.
When she starts to say like, I've already lost him, and when I really want to remember him, I try to remember all these little details of his face, every wrinkle, every hair, every, everything.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes if I think about it real hard, like I can see him, like physically see him. But I've, over the course of a couple of months or years, I've started to lose him a little bit, and it's felt like I've, been losing him a second time. It's felt like that all over again. And it's one of those things where it's like, man, like, and I even love too, whenever she opens it up, she's like, I loved whenever I could feel his like arm on my chest, and I couldn't move because of how, big he was, but I felt safe.
She says I felt complete.
Yeah, I felt, like he, like we were one in that moment, and I loved it. And, I loved being able to, know what he was going to say and be like, oh, it's cold out today, make sure you wear a scarf.
Mm-hmm.
I would, I spent so much time with this person, and I knew this person so intimately and so well that I, knew everything that they were about and everything that they would do.
Mm-hmm.
And once I lost him, I had to make do with memories, and now I'm even losing those memories.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's felt like I'm losing him again, and that's just heartbreaking.
Yeah, she's the person that is challenging the idea of, having the one. You know how Celine says it's evil, and even this one, they're all talking about separateness is good, and we're all gonna come to, like you were saying, AB, we're all gonna break up at some point. But like, no, she's saying, I enjoyed that part of it, and that's what I'm missing most, that he's gone.
Yeah.
So it was interesting to see a bunch of different perspectives and all kind of jiving together, and the whole scene is them kind of being a little overtly sexual and talking about all this stuff and having like a fun time, and we get to see that little bit of tension with Celine and Jesse when she brings up like this really touchy subject.
Yeah, about moving to Chicago, and just blurts it out to everyone, which was a bra moment for me.
And you can hear him under his breath saying like, I didn't say that, like this is not how it is, and you can kind of see these issues coming out, and them getting really irritated with each other.
Yeah, whenever that happened the first time I'd watched this movie, I immediately was like, was that needed? Did that need to be said like right now in front of all of these people?
Yeah.
And like you can tell that it upsets Jesse, and he's like, well, no, actually I didn't say that. We haven't finished talking about that conversation yet, and that's for another time.
Yeah.
And you could tell he's
very upset, frustrated,
very upset about it. And I mean, for good reason too. I mean, if you haven't finished having a conversation, and now someone is blurting out your business that it hasn't even been finalized or hasn't even been able to have had the chance to have a conversation about, like, that's very frustrating.
Oh yeah, I could
Very
see.
frustrating.
I could definitely see why he he got visibly like uncomfortable by it.
Yeah.
And that's just like one of the first times you get to see that in conversation with people.
Mhm.
And this dinner scene also functions as a plot device because we get to see that the people gave them, that hotel night.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, the walk to the hotel is beautiful. If you don't go, we're going to take it as an offense. Like, they're basically kind of forcing them to go in a joking way. But, they're like, hey, we'll have the kids go and have your night.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of what gets them to go on another, like, 900-minute monologue or talk scene with each other.
Yeah.
I like that scene, though.
I do, too. Yeah.
The walkover.
The walk. Because, one, I wanted to bring this up because I liked how they did. This is one thing that worked for me. But in the scene before the dinner scene, actually, when Jesse takes the kids to the lake, he receives a text message, and he doesn't, like, he just looks at it. He doesn't make a scene out of it. He doesn't, and just puts it back in his phone. And the whole time, actually, I was like, dude, was that Henry messaging him? Like, why aren't you responding to him? I was like, what is it? What is it? What is it? And then he, like, barely brings it up, and then they pass by it, like. And that's something that I really like, because I was like, they're keeping it about them, not about what's happening, like, to him. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Who did you think was texting him?
I thought it was Henry.
Well, Henry's on the plane to London right now. He wouldn't have service.
That's so true. Well, because
Mistress.
No, they talk about who it was.
Who?
it was his dad.
It was his dad saying that his grandma had passed. Is he lying about that? Oh.
No, don't get that in my head. No.
I don't know.
I hate that theory, bro. I genuinely believed him because he was like, would you go with me? And she's like, well, do I have to?
No,
you
you
really
can't.
don't.
Why would he react to, hey, your grandma's passed, to just...
Oh, he
just kind of looks at it and then keeps watching the kids. I feel like you'd have more of a reaction.
No,
What
but
if he wasn't-
he straight up said we were expecting it.
yeah. He
Oh.
kind of is like, we already kind of knew.
It was gonna happen. Like,
Yeah.
bro,
Man,
you got that thought in my head now.
You just want him to be a dirtbag.
I don't like you,
It's funny.
bruh.
No, but yeah. So I do like that scene too because they're talking and we get the scene of her being like, right now, if you were to see me on a train, would you come up to me and talk to me? And he goes, well, and he's like, he goes into his writer's brain and is like, well, you got to set the scene for me because
He's like, well, hypothetically, I'd be cheating on you.
yeah. He's like, so what's the deal here? And she goes, you missed your chance. You could have said something romantic, like I wanted that. And he goes, and that's when he goes up and he goes, if I saw you, he gets,
Yeah. Turns Spanish.
yeah.
No, it's Greek.
Yeah.
And he's really hairy.
Yeah. I also really love in that scene too, where she's like, "You had the chance to say something romantic and you didn't. You would still see me as this fat mom who's overaged and losing her hair."
And he starts
roasting her. He says like, "Oh, he's all the fact of the matter is, whenever it came down to it, I made that decision." He's like, "And I'm happy with my decision, Baldy."
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. We get to see their relationship because I feel like in the second movie we didn't get that as much. Like, yes, they threw little jabs at each other, very little.
Yeah.
But this one, they're like, I could throw a full jab at you, and
Yeah.
I know you're not going to be upset.
Yeah.
And that's something that I really liked about this movie.
Straight up. She even said, if I saw you, I wouldn't get off the train with you. He's like, you're a horny donkey, or what does she call him?
A horny goat.
A
or
horny,
something like
yeah.
that.
And she goes,
Billy Goat,
"No,
something
that's,
like
that's a creep. I'm creeped out right now." And he goes, "Policia."
Yeah.
So it's funny to see them
Yeah.
laugh together like that.
Yeah, most definitely. You guys have any more favorite scenes before, towards the end of the film?
No, my
No.
next one is when they get to the hotel.
Yeah,
That's
the
mine as
hotel.
well.
How long does that take, man?
Man, that entire scene makes up a big chunk of the film.
I want to say a good 20, 30 minutes.
This is when the meat happens.
Yeah, the majority of this film happens right here,
Yeah.
and it's all a huge fight scene, which we immediately originally think is going to be like a love scene.
Yeah.
And we get shocked. And we get shocked. Because dude, I remember watching this for the first time and seeing Celine, reveal, herself, and she doesn't fully reveal herself. She just kind of shows, her breasts. It took me for a loop.
It did,
Because
yeah.
the entire series, we don't,
see
it's
anything.
all implied.
Yeah.
We never see anything truly because, it's kept between the two characters.
Yeah.
And for some reason, this one decides to show it. And we see
like
Ethan.
unashamed.
Yeah, we see Ethan Hawke going to town on Julie Delpy. And the entire time, it was making me cringe a little bit because when I watched it the first time, I was just like, dude, he's going in. Dude.
Yeah.
Like,
It's
he's
like something
really
we
doing
should
it.
something we shouldn't
Yeah,
be
it's like
seeing
something
right
I
now.
don't want to watch.
Yeah.
And the entire time I'm like, oh, dude, like he's actually doing it. Like that's wild,
It's funny too because I've listened to interviews with them and they say one of the hardest part is to make it seem like they're not acting. And she even like explains like, yeah, and one of the harder parts is to like not be repulsed when he holds my hand. And I'm like, because I don't think they really truly like each other.
Really?
Yeah, well, like as like romantically.
Well,
you
there's
know?
no
Like,
way.
oh,
There's no way
yeah.
they're gonna be romantic.
No,
with each
no,
other.
but like it even seemed like she was like just him as a person, like not her type at all, and for her to just be kind of like
free.
and let him.
I mean, could you imagine them like totally being repulsed by one another and they have to do that and then after they yells cut, they're just like, oh, dude, get away from me.
Yeah,
Like
it would be
Well,
funny.
I
That'd be
feel like
wild.
when you're saying that, I feel like when you're walking by like in school, I know it's so long ago, but like somebody like accidentally brushes your hand and you're like,
You're like, whoa.
do you think that's how she was then?
Oh, I'm not sure.
I don't know, man. I mean, they spend a lot of time with one another. I can understand, acting and, getting immersed into your character and stuff. But, I mean, how many movies have we seen where, couples end up to, be couples because of the films that they're in? Look at Tom
Some, quite a
Holland and
few.
Zendaya.
True.
Look at Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone.
I even think didn't Ethan Hawke find his wife on Gattaca?
Yeah, Ethan Hawke literally married and had children with, crap, I'm forgetting her name. Uma Thurman.
Yeah, Uma Thurman.
Yeah.
So we see it, but it was interesting to see them, and
I want to
didn't.
see them now. Julie Delpy and Ethan Hawke should have a kid together.
I did not
I
expect them to show
Do not think so.
anything that they were going to show. So whenever I saw it, I was like,
Yeah, I didn't-
what's
I
going on
mean-
here? And you're
It's
right.
wild.
You're right, Isaiah. They get it. They get you to believe that they're just going to have a romantic night together in this hotel, and
Yep. And then something happens.
she gets a call.
From Henry.
It's the catalyst for the entire fight that, leads into an entire chain reaction of just arguments that have been building and building and building, and they all just explode.
I kind of agree. I don't not agree, but I kind of side with Jesse at this point and at this point of the film, because why isn't Henry calling him? Why is he only calling Julie?
Well, I mean, it's not necessarily that Henry's only calling Celine.
sorry,
It's not. It's
No,
not
we're gonna
only.
do
It's
that,
not.
yeah.
It's not only that Henry's only calling Celine. It's the fact that Celine is answering the phone and not
giving it to
letting
him.
Ethan, Jesse talk.
Yeah, I get.
mean,
I
they
get
do
you.
it. They do it in the car ride. Whenever
Yeah.
she calls and says like, "Hey," or Henry calls and says, "We're about to board and stuff," and she says, "Okay, thank you for calling me. I love you. Bye. Call me when you land in London." And he, visibly is like, "Hey, I want to talk to him. I want to talk to him," and she doesn't let him and hangs up.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Why did you do that? I wanted to talk to him." And then that's the catalyst for the entire fight, which leads into a chain reaction of all these arguments, because she answers that phone, and then, he obviously is like, "Hey, I want to talk to. Is that Henry? Let me talk to him." And she hangs up the phone. He says, "That was twice that you did that today. Why did you do that? I wanted to talk to Henry," and that leads into
This
all of our fights.
snowball effect of a
Yeah,
fight.
because he goes in and we get a lot more context to the wife and kind of she's really painted in this super negative light, like being an alcoholic, being a.
The mom sounds like trash.
She sounds like
Yes.
trash,
Yes.
honestly.
From-
According to Celine,
Mm-hmm.
because he goes on to say like, well, you shouldn't joke around about the mom because he's gonna transfer that to being criticisms on him.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what you hear kids like kind of blaming themselves for divorce and all that stuff. So it
Mhm.
makes sense.
Yeah.
And she's like, she's really defensive and saying like, well, she's trash. She's an alcoholic. Like,
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
It's a miracle she won custody of him and all this stuff.
or she used we get that little bit of lore of like him going to Paris and her using his time away to gain more custody.
Yep.
Which
I-
low key is his fault.
Somewhat.
No, it is. If you have joint custody and you go away,
But you have a pregnant woman who's about to give birth.
Yeah, and they have had this deal of, Julie lived there for 2 years, and her only goal or her only thing was, she was going to have a complicated birth.
She wanted to be in Paris with her mom.
Yeah, and he promised her that, so they went.
I know, but
again, it's a tough situation, but
yeah, I wanted to ask you guys a question real quick in regards to the hotel scene. Did you notice in this scene Celine says something about Jesse losing the red in his beard?
mm-hmm.
did, yeah.
So in the second scene, in the second movie, she talks about, I remember the little things like how that red in your beard and
like,
it glistens in the sun, and that was one of the things I remembered most, and I love that. So in this scene, she notices that he no longer has the red in his beard. It's all washed out. It's all gray now. It's white.
Mm-hmm.
Which is something that Celine previously, that was a thing that made her fall in love with Jesse. Do you guys think that them continuously changing or aging, despite Celine not thinking so, like Celine's character not thinking that they are constantly changing, do you think that's a reason why Celine decided to say at the end that she doesn't love him anymore?
No. I think she said those words because she was truly frustrated and didn't know what to say. What?
Well, you don't think that was a slight jab that like she could recognize that he was aging and that he no longer had the red in his beard?
No, because she's clearly aging and he points it out to her.
Yeah, but she has had this character written for her who now decides that we never change. And in the previous film, she says, I feel like, we're always constantly learning. We're always constantly changing. And in the second one, she says, I read my diary from, a couple years back, and I realized I haven't changed at all. I feel like we don't change much at all. And then even in the third film, she confirms that and says, yeah, I still feel like we don't change at all. I feel like, we are who we are. That's it. And we never evolve or anything like that. We just continue to be who we are, and that's it.
I don't know. It's left ambiguous on what that I don't love you anymore really truly means.
I don't know. I thought about it and thought it was an
because
interesting
low-key what
question.
Jesse says back to her, what I thought it was a good comeback was like, he says it's white and he goes, but I see it in our daughter's eyelashes now, or in the eyes, red in the sun. So I was like he's still there, like wherever those kids are, she's gonna still see him in those kids.
But is she going to associate that with good things or bad things? No. That was just one of the, I don't know. It was a question I had in my mind, and I wanted to know what you guys thought about it. But
well, that's what Alexa was like asking me a question. She was like, "Do you think she truly meant that?"
I don't think so.
I don't think so as well.
Also, with her character, we recognize that Celine jumps to extremes.
Yeah.
And
she's
Jesse,
the mayor of Crazy Town.
Yeah, and Jesse understands that and says that
I didn't think you'd actually.
I didn't think you actually meant it, and I understand that you're a person who doesn't see anger as negative. You see anger as a positive emotion, and that's an interesting way to look at it. And I kind of appreciate that they do that, because all of my life I've thought of anger as negative. Anger is a bad thing. You don't want to be angry.
Mm-hmm.
But I was listening to another commentary today, and I forget who. There was an author that was quoted that said that anger is almost one of the most intimate things that you could show a partner. You're showing your partner, hey, what just happened right now, or what happened between us was a violation of our trust, our mutual respect for one another, and you understand that now that makes me upset, and that leaves room for intimacy to grow. And I really, I was like, wow, I never really thought about anger like that, and anger being like a catalyst for possibly the feelings to get hurt, like it does in this scene, but also the catalyst for the growth of intimacy, and the growth of relationships with one another, because now once that anger has passed, relationships continue to grow and solidify, and partners get to more intimately know one another when those sorts of things happen, and
If they can make it through the fight.
Yeah, and that was one of the things that I don't know, I really enjoyed that they did with this movie, but also I never really thought about that before, and I really enjoyed that. Wanted to share with y'all.
Yeah. So I mean, you guys have thoughts on the whole argument itself of him saying, like, I just wanted to talk, like I just want to talk through my feelings, and her being like immediately jumping the gun saying, yeah,
I know where this goes.
You talk about this now, and in 2 years I'll be, feeding peanut butter to the baby in Chicago, and I'm not gonna have that. And them kind of diving deeper into their.
I think she jumped too far to even. I mean, what Jesse says was like, can you be my friend? Can you be my friend and let's just talk about this?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and he straight up is saying, in no way am I saying we're moving to Chicago.
Yeah.
He just wants to
have a conversation about it.
Yeah, and it's hard to see him at fault, because the entire time he's reassuring her, like, I love you, like, I love what we've built together, and that's not going to change. Nothing, like, he even says, like, what will happen at the end of this conversation is what happens every single time. Nothing. And he's just saying, like, all I want to do is talk through these feelings right now. And through the whole time reassuring her that he is madly, deeply in love with her, and
his feelings are very valid. Don't get me wrong.
Her inability to not, I don't want to say inability, but like, there's a lot there that she's kind of struggling with, and it was, I think it had a lot to do with her insecurity of being a mother and him being away so often.
Yeah.
And I think that's when they bring up that idea of the men's role and the women's role, and we get strong feelings of her being a feminist, right?
Yeah.
Being very active and supportive, and explaining that she, when she had the kids, she had no clue what was happening.
Mm-hmm.
And, he would call her and ask her how her day was, and she had to like, say everything's fine when she's having to walk up and down the street trying to get her babies to go to bed. And it's truly heartbreaking to hear that, and her having to go through that, and him saying like him not really having, he wasn't there, you know? But him also saying, like, writing's not just a hobby. It's how we have money.
It's how we make a living.
Yeah. So it's a really interesting dynamic there.
Well, that's what I was about to say, was because whatever he's saying is very valid. His feelings are valid. But also what Celine was saying, how he's never there, what is she supposed to do, this and this and that.
Yeah.
It's also very valid.
Yeah. And that's why I say it's hard to pick a side whenever it comes to this scene, because both characters have both equally important and both equally understandable reasons as to why they are upset.
Yeah.
And they are just refusing to listen to one another. And it sucks.
Yeah. I wanted to get your guys' reaction on the information that Emily, or the whole Emily lover, and
I was shook, man. Whenever we find out
invasion of privacy, she read she read his emails.
I mean, whenever we find out that there's potential that the both of them have been cheating on one another, is insane. And I don't know. It doesn't excuse the behavior, but I do like Jesse's response in saying that, like, I have given you my life. Like, I have given you everything that I am. I have nothing larger to give you other than my life. Yeah. And I've dedicated that to you. Which, shows,
it's one of my favorite quotes.
Yeah, it shows, like, his commitment, right? Like, he's giving his all to make this work and to be with her. But it also doesn't ever really answer the fact that he did or didn't. Mm-hmm. And
Do you think he did?
Yes. I think he did, yeah. And then I also think that Celine did as well. Like, I think that there's no innocent party.
Yeah.
I
just, real quick, it's kind of hard for me to believe that they're not married.
I was curious about that, because they
in
say
that little
right?
chapel, they say they're not married.
Yeah.
They say, even their kids are like, how was your wedding?
Yeah, they lie to them.
And they lie to them.
They're not married.
They lie to them about being married when they're not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why at the very end, when he goes, like, oh, are you here with someone, your boyfriend? She goes, no, I'm not anymore.
Yeah.
And I'm like, because it is a lot easier to, well, I guess it wouldn't be easier to break it off because they have kids, but You don't have to go through.
But it would be a lot easier. Like I get what you're saying. It's not easy, but it's easy.
Yeah, you don't have to go
Yeah.
through like legal
Divorce
Papers
court,
and stuff
yeah,
like
all
that.
that stuff.
But that blew my mind, honestly, because I would think they would get married just because how romantic
They were.
Jesse
yeah.
is.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah,
So I don't know.
It did blow my mind.
yeah. I just love this scene too, and how they just tear each other apart. They're going for each other's throats.
Yeah.
They're shooting to kill. And the entire time, like, they were just bringing stuff up that they know is going to hurt one another. And some of the comebacks that they say to one another are hilarious. One of them that Celine says to Jesse in regards to she says, like, I have thoughts, I like to think. She's like, the only time I ever get to think is when I go to the bathroom. I'm starting to associate thoughts with the smell of poop.
Yeah.
And Jesse starts laughing and says, like, oh yeah, I think I'm gonna use that in a book one day.
Yeah.
And Celine gets pissed and
She
says,
should've-
she's like, I don't give you permission to give anything that I say or do. Like, I don't want you to write anything that I say or do ever, like, about me ever again.
He's
I don't
like,
give you
you shouldn't have
permission to do so.
You picked the wrong lover, honey. Or
And he
something
said, like,
that.
you shouldn't have married a writer.
Yeah.
And like, 2,
I write what I want.
yeah, I'll write what I want when I want and all this stuff. And she says something to the extent of, like, he says, I'm going to use that in a book or something. And she says, yeah, and that'll be the best words that you've ever written or
Yeah.
something. And I whenever she said it, I was just like, ooh, that was a gut punch, dude.
She even like goes so far as to like, hurt his like saying that his like him in bed is not good.
It sucks.
Yeah, it sucks, and that he's like
He's the same.
plain old Jane, old simple man.
Yeah.
And he kind of is like shrugging it off.
He's
saying,
all,
like,
yeah, I'm a man of simple pleasures.
but they're doing some low jabs, and him even saying like, I love the way you sing. I effed up my whole freaking life
Because of the way you
sing.
And he says, if you channeled like an eighth of your energy and like into playing scales as much as you do complaining and moaning and whining, then you'd be like Django Reinhardt.
Yeah, and that's what sets her off. And I love too throughout this entire thing. They're arguing pretty good, and then she leaves. and then she comes back, and they continue.
You're not winning
going.
this.
Yeah, and then they continue going, and then she comes and she leaves, and then she comes back for a third time, and you're like, okay. Maybe they'll work through it. Maybe because they even sit down and she's making tea. He's trying to pour wine. He's saying like we're in the Garden of Eden right now. Like wow, all we can do is argue. We can't stop arguing. Like come on. So it was cool to see them not just give up on each other so quickly.
Yeah.
I think that's a very also realistic thing, and I think it's also very cathartic because they have so much to
Explain that
say.
word to me real quick.
Like it makes and I will explain it because. Once it comes to arguments and sharing your emotions, I feel like, at least for me, if it's something that like is just coming out, sometimes it's a little bit difficult to find the right words to fully explain what you're trying to say, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's realistic to be like I feel this way, but I'm not sure why yet. Like I have to steep into it more. And like whenever I heard their arguments, I was like, this seems. It seems a little bit rehearsed, but I think it's almost cathartic because, someone could be watching this and dealing with the same things and being like, I never had the words for it, you know? And a lot of these things do feel like you're in the shower thinking about it later on and being like, oh, I should have said that, but they're actually saying it.
Mm-hmm.
We've said that a couple times on this podcast, but it seemed nice. Yeah. And it seemed like a very genuine reaction and emotion that they're sharing. Yeah. Which I enjoyed.
Yeah, most definitely. We got any more favorite scenes after that?
No.
Mine is the ending.
Yeah,
Truly the very, very ending.
I was linking that whole sequence together.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I enjoy the ending as well. I love Jesse talking. I love Jesse taking the route of the time traveler and trying to win Celine back and saying that, like, oh, we've met before. I swear I've met you before. Summer of '94. And all this stuff, and goes into well, maybe you don't recognize me. I'm a time traveler, and all this stuff, and tries to make her laugh and win her back with comedy, right? And obviously, Celine is not having it. And I love this little letter that he brings up to Celine that says that your future self wrote you this letter from 80 years. So you're 80 years old right now, and you wrote this letter to your future self about this specific night, and he tries to write all this stuff, and Celine shrugs it off and says, like, this isn't, some game. This isn't a story. We're not in one of your stories. This is real. This is real life. And
It's like, did you hear what I told you in the hotel room?
yeah. And this causes one of my favorite quotes, actually, from Ethan Hawke.
Mm-hmm.
He says something to the extent of, if you want love, then this is it. This is real life. It's not perfect, but it's real. And if you can't see that, then you're blind, and I don't know what to do.
Yeah. He even goes on to say, like, if you think I'm going to come back like a dog every time, you're wrong.
Yeah.
It's powerful stuff. And
Yeah.
and that's what kind of gets me to question her saying that, I don't love you anymore. Because, she sits down and she has the opportunity to take her bag and to leave.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of echoes back to some of the things you brought up, baby, in the recent other movies, is when, like, you get to see them kind of make a decision, and then, I'm thinking of the first one where he tries to go and move her hair, but he gets seen, so he doesn't. The second one being where she does that same thing, and the third one being, her deciding to stay.
Yeah,
And
she almost grabs her bag
She
to
does.
get up and walk away, but doesn't.
She looks. That's when I think it's when she looks away, and she's like, I think at that point she's thinking of what she's gonna do.
Oh yeah, for sure. Because he tells her, like, this is it. If you want this, then
Because
then
one,
it's here.
I can only imagine what's running through her mind, like where she can tell the kids, what are they gonna tell the people back at that villa?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's gonna make a snowball effect of things later on in their life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
But I also love the way that he ends the letter. And he's like, oh, there's a postscript down here. It's
like, let me just get through all the boring stuff.
Yeah, it's, lottery numbers and horoscopes and all that stuff. The postscript, P.S. The best intercourse of your life happens in the southern Peloponnese.
and look at
would
this.
you look at that? We're here right now. That's weird.
Yeah.
It's a very weird coincidence. And then, it ends with, them, saying, like, if this is what you want, this is real life. This is what you're going to get. And if you can't see that, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
And that ends with her being like,
Her deciding.
yeah, and being like, well, what else do I say about myself? And,
Her
he's
saying,
like,
like,
oh.
well, how does the time machine work? Do I have
Yeah.
to get naked to operate it?
Yeah.
And he goes, well, yes.
And he's like, well,
actually,
yes,
It's
unfortunately.
been a problem.
Yeah, he's all, clothes unfortunately do not stay intact, when traveling through the space-time continuum.
Yeah.
And then she goes back into that little, bimbo role, and it's like,
Space time.
space-time continuum?
Dude.
And he's just like, oh, yes. She's all, wow, I've never heard of such a big word. And he's all, yes. Yeah, like playing into it. And
Yeah.
she's like, yeah, so, you mentioned that, the best, of your life is in the southern Peloponnese. We're in the southern Peloponnese. And she's all, oh, wow,
That
we
must
are.
have been one heck of a night.
And she says, the last line is, it must have been some night that we're about to have, or something like that.
Yeah. I think that solidifies kind of their relationship and
Yeah.
them not breaking up.
Yeah, I think that the ending is hopeful,
Yeah.
and it further solidifies the fact that these two are going to stay together.
I think for me, it solidified when she played that role. Like, she switched into that smart girl, like not knowing what he's talking about.
Oh, okay.
I think that's what solidified it for me. Just like she's playing into it now.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Like, she's realizing, like, this is real.
Okay.
Like, I think that's when it solidified for me.
So I want to ask you guys another question, having gotten to the end of the film. Did you guys recognize that now they are essentially the couple at the beginning of the film that was fighting?
Yes.
They essentially went full
The
circle.
German couple?
They essentially went full circle.
Yeah.
The couple at the beginning of the first movie.
Oh, shoot.
They essentially went full circle. They became that couple.
Mm-hmm.
Bruh. Bruh. That's mind-blowing.
Yeah.
It's real life, man.
Yeah. And it happens, and in the beginning of the first film, they kind of make fun of them, and it was like, oh, what are they even talking about? It's crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy you can just fight with someone like that.
So then would you want to say that young couple at the villa is going to be them?
It's possible. I mean, it sort of leads us into that expectation, right? Like, they have this wonderful night with one another.
They
don't
drove
wanna-
around
yeah,
all night.
They don't want to get into specifics about the night and all that stuff. They want to keep it between them, and they stayed. The only difference between their story is that they stayed in touch with one another through Skype.
Yeah.
and
And
they
they fall
bring up
asleep.
Skype like 2 or 3 times because it shows like they were stupid to not keep in touch with each other from
Yeah.
the beginning.
Exactly. But yeah, I just thought that was a interesting little piece of information.
There's so many callbacks on these movies.
Oh yeah.
It's
yeah, and
crazy.
that's how you know that they're beautifully written.
Yes.
And they're Richard Linklater is a great writer as well as Ethan and Julie. So I really appreciate the writing with this entire series of films.
Mm-hmm.
Now that we're at the end, can we talk about some theories?
Well, you want to save the theories for towards like the end of the episode and want to get through the rest of the categories first?
Yeah, let's.
True.
Well, we've already touched on a lot of quotes that I had, but
yeah.
Okay.
What have we got next?
I got a couple of best quotes here.
Yeah, a couple.
One of them is towards the I forget where this is at, but I believe it's from Celine, and she says that the point of life is to be looking, to be searching.
That's when they're walking.
Yeah.
I know exactly what you're talking about when
Yeah.
they're walking to.
She says something to that extent. But other than that, all the best quotes that I've had, we've talked about.
Yeah.
I have two, and they're both from the villa when they're at the dinner scene in the villa. So my first one is from Natalia. She says, "Like sunlight, sunset, we appear, we disappear. We are so important to some, but we are just passing through."
Yes.
Mhm. And they toast to
And they toast
just passing through.
to just
All
passing
we
through.
are is dust in the wind, dude.
Okay, you're gonna keep going with that?
You guys haven't seen Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure?
No, but that is
Oh.
that's a song too.
No,
All we are. I'm not gonna go,
That's-
but
No,
It's
no, no,
from-
no, no, no. Now you're gonna sing the song.
No.
it's from Socrates. It's a philosophical thing from Socrates.
I want to know the
He
song though now.
talks about all we are is dust in the wind.
Okay.
But then in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, Keanu Reeves, they go to like the Parthenon, and he grabs like the dust. And he says, "All we are is dust in the wind, dude."
Oh my.
Isn't
And he
dust in
just
the wind?
goes, "What?" He grabs
Sorry.
the sand and drops it, and he goes, "Dust, wind, dude."
Oh my.
And the guy's all,
gosh.
Dust
What
in
were
the
you
Wind is a Kansas song, isn't it?
Not sure. I just know the lyrics.
Gosh.
We'll get into that after. But what you got other quotes?
Yeah, my last quote is from Patrick, and he's just, I want to say he's the host of the villa?
Yeah, it's his place. It's his guest
place.
home.
It's his guest home, and he says, at the end of the day, it's not the love of another person, it's the love of life.
Mm.
And I think it's true.
Is
think
it the
he-
love of life or the lust of life?
The love of life. I think he said love.
Got him. No,
Man, now you're second guessing me.
I'm just kidding.
No,
I'm just riffing.
Yeah.
You just hate me. It's
We touched on a lot of the quotes. I have the extended quote of him saying, like, "I'm giving you my whole life." He goes on to say, but if you want a laundry list of things that piss me off about you, I can give it to you. And of course, she goes, "I want to hear it."
Yeah.
I'm like, why do you want to hear that? You're going to get more upset hearing
Yeah.
these. But he goes off and he goes, "Well, number one, you're effing nuts." He goes, "You are. Good luck trying to find someone else to put up with your crap for more than 6 months." He goes, "But I accept you, the whole package, the crazy and the brilliant. I know you're not going to change, and I don't want you to. It's called accepting you for being you." And thought it was nice.
Yeah, I like that. Any other quotes?
No. but
Yeah, we already touched on all mine.
All right. Well, let's get into bro moments then that we haven't talked about. One of the bro moments I have that we have not talked about is Celine talking about her cat getting pregnant.
Bro.
Can you explain to me, like, the dad takes the other litter and just kills them?
Yeah.
For what?
I have no idea.
Just to
He
make-
didn't want that many cats.
Oh, I thought he was trying to uphold that belief that she's like,
There's
only two?
only two.
I think he's trying to uphold that.
I think he's trying to
belief.
uphold that lie, but also just
Not have
I
that
don't
many
want these
cats.
cats around.
Still,
So I'm
though.
gonna
Just
kill 'em.
imagine.
Just throw them, like, give them to someone or
What was
drop
it?
them off
Seven,
somewhere.
7 a litter?
Yeah, he'd be like upwards to like 6 or 7 kittens
Imagine
per litter.
7 every year. And they're just going to stay there. So, however old. Dude, 3 years, you got 21 cats.
It's plenty easy to get rid of cats, though, without having to, like, put them in bags and throw them in rivers. And that's just brutal, man.
He said that he put them in a bag of ether.
Yeah.
And
What's
killed
ether?
Ether's like poison, or it's like isn't it for fertilizer or something like that?
Yeah.
It's,
Bro.
it's the
I knew, I mean, immediately when she said she put him in a bag, I knew he killed him.
That's
But I just
Yeah. Super big bro moment.
it's morbid, dude.
Yeah. Another one of mine is whenever Jesse on the walk over brings up Celine's past partners. Like he just brings it up and is just like, oh yeah, I know for sure you blew that guy on the walk.
Oh,
and
she
she's like,
goes, no.
I didn't blow that guy. Are you kidding me?
Take that back.
Yeah, and it's just like, what a jab to just randomly bring up on a walk over to a romantic hotel stay that's supposed to be romantic, and you're just like, oh yeah, I know you did this. And it's just like, all right, like why'd you bring that up? That didn't pertain to the conversation at all.
Yeah.
You know, that was a
Yeah.
brum moment for me.
A moment for me was when he brought up the death of his grandma, and he told Celine that he told his dad, "Hey, you're an orphan now."
Yeah,
Dude. And he's like, yeah, he didn't think it was that funny. I'm like, dude.
That's why I thought it was funny.
I was like, what the heck?
I laughed hard at that, but it is a bro moment.
Yeah.
Like, you don't. I could never tell my dad that. Hey, you're an orphan now.
And it'd just be so nonchalant.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hey,
it's
Dad, you're an orphan now.
savage.
I
It's savage.
can't.
It
I
truly
can't.
is. It is.
He's crying over here.
So funny. That's so funny to be to try to make a joke at someone's low point and then just make him even more sad, dude. That's hilarious.
I totally forgot about that, man.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Oh man.
That's a big bro moment.
Yeah. Another moment I had is when they get to that that church little stable thing, and they go in and they talk about, like, Celine says some like raunchy stuff about, you know, doing
Yeah.
intimate things, and then he goes, "Oh, you can't do that." And she goes, "Oh, I forgot. You know, you're
What a church. You're a closeted Christian.
You're a closeted Christian, and that's bad to say in a church." And she goes, she puts her hands together like she's about to pray, that
And she
licks.
licks.
Dude,
Dude,
I
that
was like, bro, what are you doing?
Yeah, I was like, ugh.
That was cringe to me.
And
When she did it, I was just kind of like, oh, it's a little cringe.
I don't know what she was trying to
I
go
did
for
not
there.
like it.
I don't know what she was.
One of the
going for.
guys I was watching reacting to it, he was like, "That was hot," and I was all, no,
Of course they
no.
thought that.
You saying that just reminds me of, oh, that's
Oh,
hot.
it was hot.
Oh, that's hot.
Oh, that's
Freaking-
hot.
Fortnite.
90.
Another bro moment for me is obviously Jesse breastfeeding. It's just unexpected. Like when it first happened, I was just like, "Bro, what is happening? He's going in. Oh, he's going in." And I had to look away real quick. I was like, "This is really happening."
Yeah.
Like he's really doing that.
There's a part where he drops his pants, and I straight up thought, I was like, "Oh, we're gonna see Ethan's butt right now." I thought they were gonna go all the way and show it, but no, they didn't go that far. But yeah, that's a big bro moment.
Yeah. My last one is when Celine says that she doesn't love Jesse anymore.
I actually cried at this movie.
Oh, wow.
And it's because I saw the ending with you.
Mm-hmm.
I saw the whole argument scene, but now knowing like all the whole backstory of them before, right when she says, "You know what? I don't think I love you anymore," and shuts the door, I start crying because that's just seeing this couple who grow for the 18 years and how intimate and how lovey-dovey they are and how perfect they look.
Mm.
Hearing those words from her to him hurts because I'm like, I'm rooting for you guys.
Yeah.
This is a relationship that I don't want to end.
Mm.
And dude, I cried. I was literally I don't know why, dude. I was sobbing basically.
That's funny.
I didn't cry. I got a little teary-eyed whenever he was reading the note,
Yeah.
and they talk about, you know, he's your guide, and you know he never was able to connect with anyone, and he's sorry,
Mm-hmm.
but you're all he's got,
Yeah.
and you know they both are kind of like,
Yeah.
You could tell her. You could tell she's like
she's
she
holding
turned away
back
and
the
she-
tears.
yeah, and that's the scene where I was like, I was
Yeah.
getting teary-eyed. I was like, oh, dude,
Yeah.
because
That's love.
they're being vulnerable. He's being vulnerable,
Very
you know?
vulnerable.
And it's really telling too, because once the whole argument's over and she leaves, like he just looks around and you hear that beautiful piano playing,
Yeah.
and he gets to see like the wine and the teacup and the bed, and he's kind of like, you know, like what happened?
Yeah.
It almost seems like he's like, I love her. Like
Mhm.
I this is my life.
You could
Yeah.
tell he truly loves her.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's why I liked it. That freaking piano is beautiful.
Yeah. The soundtrack.
The
of this movie
soundtracks to
is
this-
gorgeous.
All three of these movies.
Yeah. Yeah. All of the soundtracks to all of these movies slap.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love the little melody that is, you know, kept throughout the theme of this one though.
Mhm.
The little doom 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 doom.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. I love it. Well, if there's no more bruh moments, let's get into some facts.
All right.
Why don't you bring us in with that budget?
So with the budget, it actually kind of surprised me because for the past 2 movies, it's been the same budget, which is $3 million,
Oh, okay.
which is crazy,
Mhm.
which is crazy good, actually. Opening weekend, about $246,000.
Wow.
In U.S. and Canada, it grossed $8.1 million,
Okay.
and then worldwide, $20.9 million.
Man,
So it made its money
Good.
for
Good.
sure.
we're glad to
Not,
hear
not
that.
a flop at all.
Good.
Very good.
Another one that I have. This one was also Oscar nominated for Best Adapted Screenplay.
Really?
Again. Yeah, but it didn't win.
Adapted from the first or the second movie? Which one? Like-
Couldn't tell you, dude. It's adapted from not original source material,
Oh.
which again, I think it's a dumb rule.
That's
but
a little sketchy.
yeah. I don't know. Not a fan of that one.
Yeah.
But
Fact I have is I was listening to an interview with Julie and Richard, and they were all talking, and they explained that the writing for the second movie was done majority like through email and through like technology, and they didn't really have to meet all too much together. But the dynamic for the third one was a lot different, where they got together and they were in like I think it was a sort of hotel conference style place, and really truly got together for like 2 months or 10 weeks.
Oh, wow.
And wrote it together, and they explained that in context of the movie, them being together for that time is supposed to simulate that relationship that we don't really get to see. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? So to have that jovial relationship between them building as they're writing was useful for the third one, which I thought was interesting because and they even go on to explain like the riskiest movie they made they considered to be the second one
Why?
Yeah. Why?
because it had been so long, and then they were explaining like they were scared that they weren't going to, or that the fans weren't going to think that they appreciated the source material very well, and also not like where the characters went either. And they said it was one of the riskiest things that they did, and we even read that fact where Julie Delpy's
agent dropped her.
and almost everyone was so against this film
Yeah.
being made and being produced, and it was just hated on.
Yeah.
And they still kind of went along with it. And it's cool to hear kind of the director saying like, this movie is made for specific people. Like it's not very action heavy, and I'm not going to pander to that. Like this movie, I know what it is.
Mhm.
And Ethan goes on to say that was really freeing for them.
Yeah. I like that. I got another fact that's from Ethan Hawke. I believe he did a video with GQ, I think.
Yes.
Breaking down his like most iconic roles, and he talks about the before trilogy, and he says something about or something at least to the effect of Before Sunrise being a film about what might be.
You
And
took
then-
my quote.
Yeah,
Right.
before. So I'd watched that video today, and he talked a lot about the Before trilogy, and he said that the Before Sunrise being a film about what might be, Before Sunset being a film about what could or should be, and then Before Midnight being a film about what is. Which I thought was very telling and very interesting and very real.
Mhm.
And, it plays into the reality that is brought to that third movie,
Mhm.
which I like that. So,
Yeah. So he actually took mine and had that one down. But so the last fact that I have down is that this movie was only shot in 15 days.
Same as the last one too, right?
yeah. And that's just crazy, man. It's breakneck speed.
Yeah. Because, again, they probably shot the hotel, walk into the hotel scene in probably a day.
Yeah.
At least, because of a certain time.
Mm.
And so it's just unbelievable how fast they did this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was in interviews, they explained like this is some of the hardest things that they've had to do as well. Like
Yeah.
they come out of it feeling super exhausted.
Yeah, they rehearse for like months.
Yeah, and
Like-
I even read that literally none of it is improvised.
Yeah.
And it almost is like you can't
Yeah.
improvise it. And
Yeah.
they go on to explain, all of that, but it's pretty crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, it is pretty wild. The last one I have here, it kind of just does back up your point, Nick, that there is no improvisation. This movie is rigorously rehearsed, and it's just wild to me. And I think that also plays into. I mean, do we have any more facts?
No, I don't have any more.
No.
Okay. Well, this will bleed into something that didn't work for me about this film.
Okay.
I feel like this movie feels rehearsed.
Mhm.
This one. It doesn't feel as fluid as the first and the second ones.
Mm-hmm.
The first and the second ones felt like there was heavy like improvisation or just a fluidity of the film where it just felt natural and flowing.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas this one, I don't know, man, it felt like it felt structured. It didn't
Mhm.
feel like the previous two, and the fact that it felt like, we were there watching time pass as it happened on like in real time on the movie,
Mhm.
in the film as it's going on. I don't know, for some reason for this one it just felt like it felt rehearsed.
Mm.
That's all I can describe it as.
Okay. Well, if we're talking about what didn't work, because
Yeah.
I'll echo that. I felt a little bit of that as well. I also too kind of really wanted to see more of Greece. Only
Yeah.
because it's so freaking beautiful,
Yeah.
so beautiful.
I really I will go into that, and what did work, but I really enjoyed them kind of showing what they did because it made me want to like go there.
Yeah.
And another film that does that for me is another film like Call Me by Your Name.
Yes.
Like Call Me by Your Name it puts you in the setting of Northern Italy. So like it immerses you into that
Beautiful.
environment, and it's beautiful. And anytime I watch it, I'm like, man, I want to go there. Like I want to go to this specific part of Italy
Yeah.
and spend a summer there, and like wake up at 8 a.m. and be like, hey, let's go for a swim in the lake.
Yep.
Let's go pick some fruit off some trees that
Some
have just
peaches.
just freshly. Don't.
That's a whole different movie. Whole different
It's
movie.
a whole different movie. But it's one of those things where it brings you into that that setting, and it immerses you, and it's one of those things in film where it's like, man, this is just another thing that works.
Yeah.
Off topic, but you know what movie makes me want to go somewhere? Jumper.
Rome.
Where to Rome?
Rome.
The Colosseum.
Colosseum.
The Colosseum.
Piala.
Dude.
Agree.
It's-
So this isn't a fashion show. I'm taking a piss. For some reason, I always remember that line.
Dude.
Yeah.
That's a little off topic for me.
Yeah.
What about you, AB? Do you have anything that didn't work for you?
I don't know. I like this movie. And it's like hard for me to pick it apart.
Mm.
I said it in the past podcast, the last 2 episodes. This movie's solely on like conversation and dialogue, and it's something that I'm not a big fan of,
Mm.
but that's something that I loved.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just watching the movie. It was like whatever they said, I wanted to pay attention to what they're saying,
Okay.
and it's
What did you feel about the like the whole dinner scene, and it's just inclusion in the movie? I know a lot of people will kind of.
it was the dinner scene's kind of weird. I don't like the young. You like the young couple. I don't like the young couple.
He said, "F the young couple."
I don't like them. I don't know. Like when you get first introduced to them, they're walking away and they're like all lovey-dovey, and then I don't know.
You just would rather the movie not have them in there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm.
I don't. The only thing I don't like about the dinner scene is them getting a little too
Yeah,
like
it's vulgar.
It's a little too like
raunchy almost.
raunch.
Yeah.
I don't know why. It doesn't really like serve the story
No.
at all. It's just kind of there for conversation.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's just because, us as Americans, like, sex is obviously like sort of like a taboo thing, whereas Europeans, it's a little it's more accepted and more talked about, which I want to say maybe that's the reason why it's brought up, because it's people can bring it up more nonchalantly and have it in conversations, whereas here in America that stuff is like, oh, that's private. You
Yeah.
don't talk about that stuff. I don't know if it's just a difference in culture or not, but
It might be.
It really might be, but they did focus a whole lot more on him being like a horn dog, honestly.
yeah,
And
I don't know.
like,
I
Yeah,
don't know.
because I think about the scene when they're talking about his book. He goes, "Oh yeah, I really liked it when they were in the hotel for 10 days straight."
Yeah,
like, did that really happen? And he's like, you know what I mean? And they even end the whole film about like raunch. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm not sure like if they're trying to say like, everything kind of boils down to that. like that's the
They're Freudian.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
yeah. And
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know. I was just curious as to why they.
Yeah, I get that. Another thing that didn't work for me, and this is the last one as well for me. There's some camera work around that dinner scene.
You didn't like?
I did not like, and it's distracting to me because there's some parts where like the camera tracks with the motions that certain characters are doing, specifically Jesse and Celine. Like they'll go to like move, and you see the like. It's not like the camera actually moves, but like the image moves with it to like track, so it feels like there's like nothing moving. It's like stabilizing it almost.
Oh yeah.
But it feels weird. And like when I noticed it, I was like, oh, that was kind of odd. And they did it like 3 more times after that. I don't know. I'll have to pull it up and show you guys after.
Yeah.
But it's just something that it took me out of it, and I was just kind of like distracted. And then the rest of the time I was like looking sort of like on the outsides of the frame to see like if it was going to move again and do it again.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
But other than that, that's nothing. There's nothing else that really didn't work.
Yeah, just from what you guys brought up, that's about all I can add to it.
Okay. Well, then what did work for this film?
Bro, this movie's beautiful.
Yeah, I want to highlight the stunning cinematography here.
I especially like in the beginning when he's walking out of the airport, you kind of get like that view of like a plane.
Mm-hmm.
And there's just like buildings far in the distance, and it's not like this big city. I thought that was super cool. Just to even like look at that.
Yeah, I feel like they always do a really good job at showing the environment and getting it to look really appealing. Honestly, like Vienna looked beautiful. Paris looked even more beautiful. And this one, like I said in the beginning, is just noticeably, dude. It's so noticeable how much quality there is in the in the camera work.
Yeah,
it was just absolutely beautiful. Greece makes me want to go.
Looks like we're gonna go soon, right?
Hopefully.
I hope so.
If we start getting sponsors, woo, there we go. No, I'm just kidding. Another thing I want to highlight about this film is the amazing writing, especially about writing about parenting and aspects of long-lasting relationships and the hardships that come along with that. I love a lot of the callbacks to previous films with this last one, and I have to say this is some of the most enjoyable dialogue I think in the trilogy comes in this because it feels super duper real, and it's really enjoyable in that aspect for me. I wouldn't say it's like the most. It is my favorite like dialogue, I guess, or like it's not my favorite. I don't know how do I word that. It's not like my favorite script. I guess I should say like in that trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
I think my favorite everything goes to the second one. But I do love the script for this one because of the reality that is brought to the table in regards to hardships about parenting and being in a relationship for 10 plus years and knowing possibly everything about one person and knowing that there are things that piss you off about the person, but you don't want to say anything because you don't want to start a fight. And eventually getting into those arguments and navigating those conversations and stuff. I don't know. I really enjoyed the dialogue and the writing here in this one.
Yeah. I was going to say that this is kind of one of the most, like in the trilogy, it's one of the most relatable and not relatable ones.
Yeah.
Only because, now they're 41 and now they have like a family and kids that they have to deal with, which I cannot relate to. But there's some things that Jesse says that I have felt before where he talks about like, oh, when I was a kid, all I wanted was for time to go fast. Like I wanted to go to bed and to wake up and be old. And then now he's like realizing how stupid and foolish that was. And now he's like,
I just want everything to slow down.
And now I want everything to slow down. But I'm in that stage of like, dude, I kind of want to just grow up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there's a few other things that I really related to, which I enjoyed. I think that it was a way to kind of connect the audience of any age, no matter what. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For me, so I'm going to kind of bunch all 3 of them together, is I can rewatch these movies a lot.
Okay.
Like, I love them. Bro, like, if I watch the first one, I'm going to have to watch the second one. I'm going to have to watch the third one.
Okay.
And, like, I think I think this movie explains relationships to a T.
Mm.
And I think that's something that a lot of people should watch because it's not all freaking butterflies and dandelions.
Mm.
And this shows it. Like you're gonna get things thrown at you. You're gonna have your hurdles you're gonna have to jump over.
Yep.
Like it's not easy.
Yeah.
And this is a movie that the third one specifically shows that like if you truly love your person, if you truly like care for them, want to be for them, you're gonna do whatever it takes to be with them.
Mm. I
So
like
it's
that.
something that I really enjoyed in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. I got one more thing that I did really enjoy that I haven't already talked about, which is just the acting. It's on point per usual. Great jobs from Ethan and Julie, as well as a lot of the newer people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed the character of Natalia, and I enjoyed the characters of the other couple. I'm forgetting their names.
Ariadne and the other guy, I don't know.
Yeah, no. The older couple.
Oh yes. Oh yeah. Again, I don't
The
know.
other couple
I forget
is-
their names, but I enjoyed seeing them on screen and
Yeah.
seeing their relationship. It was very fun to
Mhm.
watch and see that they can joke around and have fun with one another. I enjoyed everyone's performances in this film, and it didn't feel like anyone was forcing anything or trying to overact. It felt like everyone was reacting,
Mm.
and that's something you want in a film, especially like this, where you're going to have a huge chunk of the film be an argument.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the acting chops on everyone here were pretty great.
Yeah.
So
In regards to performances, I think one thing I loved about Julie. I was gonna say Julie. Well, Julie. I was gonna say Julie and Celine, but Jesse and Celine is that I enjoyed the difference in tension in this one, where it's not like the other films. It was like they love each other. Are they gonna make it together, or are they gonna who's gonna make the move first and all that? Like that's the tension we get in the first and second one. And then in the third one, it's like, the tension is like, are they gonna stay together?
yeah,
Like,
who's gonna pick? What fight is gonna
break the
break
camel's
these
back?
guys?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed seeing that tension slowly build through conversation and through the smaller jabs, kind of slowly becoming mountains, and rearing their head at the very end, and that culminating to that big fight at the end. I thought it was an interesting way, and I think it's really believable for their characters. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think the character arcs throughout the entire trilogy, I think, is very, very true and believable.
Yeah. Most definitely.
So, and I'm only wondering where they can go from there if they even decide to,
Yeah.
because we are in the 9-year waiting period.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a theory that I was gonna bring up because Isaiah and I had talked about it, which is this year, 2022.
Yeah. It's been 9 years.
It's been 9 years.
So I had brought up previously. This was the theory I was going to talk about in the last episode. It's been 9 years. What if
2022?
2022 they came out with another movie? They call it Before Dawn, and it's about the entire night after. So it takes place like immediately after the after.
So then we get to see that intimate part.
Well, maybe not that.
Sorry,
But,
I'm joking.
Isaiah
about it.
said, "Give it to me."
No, maybe not that, but like seeing them having a whole like rekindling of their relationship and like having like their entire relationship like blossom again. And
I kind of want to see them as parents.
yeah, like I don't know. Like I understand that there's another quote from Ethan Hawke in that GQ video that he says like the 3 has like a sort of like finality to it that it feels circular. They got together, then reconnected, and now they had this huge fight, but they're still together. There's still hope and stuff. I don't know. I feel like there's so much more story to be told, but I don't know if it necessarily constitutes another film.
Yeah.
I feel like if another film were to be made, it might potentially damage
The series.
the series.
Yeah. It'd be really tough ground because it doesn't seem like there's much more to tread as far as like they're already parents. They're already kind of dealing with this like problem that's going to break them up. Where can they go from there? I think it would be interesting to see like
what if they made a film How old would those girls be now?
9. So they were 7 right there.
Mm. So how old
So
would they be
plus
now?
9.
Well, are we gonna continue with the 9-year
They'd be
continuation?
16. They'd be 16.
9-year thing or something like that, right? Every 9 years. What if at this point,
So they would
those
be
girls-
50 something.
yeah, they'd be even older.
No, they'd be 52. 50. No, they'd be 50 because they're 41.
Okay. So then those girls, imagine they're at a point where they're like moving out, going to college.
But that'd be more
And-
than 9 years because they're 16 years old.
But I'm saying, like, in a crazy world,
Yeah.
what if,
That would be
if they
interesting.
made another film where the kids move out and now it's just them two again,
Ooh, I would actually be interested to see them.
and they have to re-navigate how to be around one another without the kids.
And if it were, like the kids were the only thing keeping them together or not.
Yeah.
I was thinking, what if they showed us of them being like really old and they called it Before the End. And it's like
That'd be really morbid.
It would be morbid, but it kind of will echo that woman at the dinner table.
Yeah.
I think that could be interesting, an interesting take
Yeah.
on their relationship.
Yeah, most definitely.
And Celine kind of coming to the head and being like, you are my soulmate, and it's not evil anymore.
Yeah.
Maybe they can. I don't know. I was thinking about that. I thought it'd be cool,
Yeah, that'd be nice.
but
Interesting nonetheless.
with her French butt,
Yeah.
looking good at 82.
Well, who wins this movie for y'all?
Ethan Hawke for me.
Yeah, me too. I think this is the only one where I choose a winner, and
Mhm.
I say Ethan wins this one for me.
I say both.
Okay.
You switched it up.
Yeah. They
All
both
right.
have. Yeah, I can't choose one.
All right. Hey, that's perfectly okay. I did the same thing. I think the last two movies. So,
Yeah.
well, if we picked a winner, what are some themes for this?
You want me to go first?
The-
I chose.
If you don't want to go first,
I'll go. I don't mind.
Okay.
The thing that I wrote down is, love is hard, but it's worth it.
Yeah. Yeah.
What?
I wanted to make that joke I made last episode. I said love is hard, so I got to be harder. So-
I'm just not gonna say anything with being hard.
It's lyrics from a band. The original lyrics are life's hard, so I got to be harder.
Mm. Boned up.
Chromax. Yeah, boned up. No, my theme is this film is a glimpse into, like I said at the beginning of the episode, this is a glimpse into what happens after happily ever after.
Mm.
All romance movies, we get to see, oh yeah, and they lived happily ever after at the end.
But what happens after
But
that?
no one ever tells you what happened after that. Did they stay together? What happens? What's the reality of the situation?
Yeah.
This movie is an answer to that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What was that?
I just agreed with it, man.
You went,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, those themes are good. Communication, key, all the. I
You're so late.
It doesn't feel very. Like I don't have very wisdom. I can't draw very much wisdom out of this.
Yeah.
Wisdom.
I did see someone. I was watching a couple of scenes again on YouTube, and people in the comments were saying like, I feel like this is a movie you need to watch before you get married, so you can like understand, like conflict and how easily it can arise and how you should handle it
Mm.
and not let it spiral out of control like it did in this film. So, but yeah, I don't know. There's I feel like there's much more to be said about the film, but it would take a lot more diving into.
Mhm.
And especially like with that whole dinner scene.
Yeah.
Like there's a ton of like philosophical questions that get asked
Mm-hmm.
in that dinner scene that I don't even know if they necessarily pertain to the movie or not,
I
or the overall theme of it.
Just
No.
about the idea of like yourself and what
Yeah.
that truly means in regards to technology. and-
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that. It would require a little bit. It would more focus solely on that rather than the movie as a whole.
Yeah. But if that's it for the themes, what are we going to rate this moon?
I gave okay, let me recap here. I gave Before Sunrise a 9, Before Sunset a 10. I'm going to give this one an 8.5.
Okay.
I liked it. I liked it less than the other two.
Yeah.
So that's where I fall on my rating there.
I'm gonna piggyback off you a little bit, but I'm gonna give it an 8.
An 8. Okay.
Yeah, I gave 9, 10, 8. So I gave this one an 8.
I gave 10, 10, 8. I gave the first 2 10s and then this one an 8. This one's my least favorite out of this trilogy.
Yeah.
I feel like if I ever do go back to most of these films, I'm gonna really want to go back to the first or the second.
Yeah, 100%.
I can agree with that.
But yeah. All right. Well, if that's it for this podcast, I believe that is the end of the episode, y'all. So if you did like it, make sure that you leave us a rate and review, as always. We really do appreciate the feedback and seeing your guys' comments and stuff like that. And also be sure to like and subscribe our YouTube videos now.
Yeah.
We do have YouTube up, and I know we had a couple of issues with our last upload. We had, an issue where we were only able to upload about 1 hour, which was like just our favorite scenes.
Yeah, full transparency, man. It's
It was
more
rough.
difficult than people make it out to be, man.
It was rough. It was rough. But to our detriment, we tried filming on an iPhone,
which
it didn't work. Which I don't understand. I hear like all these stories.
There's
about,
a whole movie.
People make movies on iPhones. Like,
It's-
there's a movie called Tangerine that's straight up all filmed on an iPhone, and I look at it and I'm like, how did they even get the video off the iPhone to editing? Like,
it's a lot more difficult than it looks. I'm not.
They
gonna
probably
lie.
bought a brand new iPhone.
a brand new computer that has ports that work well.
Shut up! Don't call me out.
They had stuff that all worked perfectly.
yeah, I don't know. So it proved to be pretty difficult for us. So luckily we got a new setup now. We got a camera, which is great, and hopefully this will continue to work out for us. So continue to watch us on YouTube, share the videos, like and subscribe, hit the bell notification. All that stuff. Like I hate that I have to say this now because I hate YouTubers being like, smash that like button, make sure you subscribe, hit the bell, blah blah. Like it sucks.
Welcome back, everybody.
It's the fact.
It sucks, but we have
fact
to
of the algorithm.
yeah,
man.
we have to do it. We have to appease the algorithm. So,
Yeah, so.
if you could do that for us, that'd be great. Get our viewership up. We want to, get this podcast in front of as many people as we can. And, the only way that can happen is if you guys are sharing the episodes and, continuing to listen and liking and let us know what you like, letting us know what you don't like and stuff. So, I think that's about it, y'all. So, if you want any, methods of, how to find us or anything like that, they can all be found in each of our episode descriptions. All you got to do is click on our descriptions of the episodes and find out, where to follow us on social media, email us at, all that stuff. But other than that, let's get into what you're going to pick for your next episode.
Yeah,
Nick.
so I am going to switch up the genre, and I'm also going to pick a streaming movie, just because we've been on a streak here. But I'm going to choose Full Metal Jacket.
Full Metal Jacket by
Yes.
Stanley Kubrick.
Stanley Kubrick's Full Metal Jacket, 1987. It is streaming on HBO Max.
All right.
So watch it if you can. I don't know.
This is going to be our second Kubrick film.
It is, yeah. The Shining was the first, but
yes.
so I'm really excited to dive back into this one. I know it kind of is it's one of the most harrowing war movies that I personally have seen.
Yeah.
And I haven't dove back into it in so long.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've rewatched this one, so it'll be interesting to rewatch it, especially within a new lens of coming back with topics to talk about and stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
I know with the first time I watched this movie, where I was working at the time, one of the guys that actually got me into watching film was one of my old coworkers named Jason, and he had brought up this film, and he was a Marine before he ever started working at the job that I'd previously worked at, and he had told me that not only was this movie awesome, those were his words. He says that movie's awesome, and he's from New York, so he kind of had a little bit of an accent still. He was funny. He's a funny guy, but he said that this movie was awesome and is the most accurate portrayal of what you'll go through at boot camp. Mm. So
yeah,
keep that in mind whenever we're watching this.
Some of those scenes, it kind of surprises me, kind of how the trauma they go through.
Yeah,
but I'm excited.
I gotta break you so that way they can
mold you.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
Have we ever done a war movie?
I don't think so.
No, I don't think so.
So this will be kind of a fresh start too.
It'll be
kind of. We did Dunkirk.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Dunkirk was.
That's a war movie for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a different kind of war movie. It's not all fighting and killing. But so is this one. Full Metal Jacket is not all that as well. So
I'm excited.
Yeah, if you haven't seen it, go check it out. It's going to be on HBO Max. So stream that thing and watch it if you haven't, and then tune in with us next week to hear our thoughts on Full Metal Jacket.
Yeah.
As always, this has been the Film Bros Podcast. Thank you, and good night.
Good night.
Good night.